What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Scary Sundays. And this video is really for anybody who is currently in a situation where you find yourself being pulled in multiple directions and you're not sure which endeavor, which area, which field or career even is the right move for you at this point in your life. And you may find yourself going back and forth, maybe one day feeling like you are totally gung ho about one thing, and then the next day finding yourself doubting that and feeling like you really want to explore something else. And before I get into the video, I do want to just acknowledge that I think there's totally a time and place for this kind of exploratory mode. I actually think it's really important and really vital to allow yourself to have as much space and as much time as you need to figure out what it is that you want to do, what's the next best move for you. And I also think importantly that this is a phase that we don't just go through once in our life, right? Like oftentimes we feel like, okay, well, the time to do that was in college, or the time to do that was before college or during my gap year. But now, I'm many years beyond that, or I already had that time, or I already made a decision to go one direction. So I can't allow myself to feel quote unquote lost again. I can't allow myself to have that exploration phase again. And so I just want to acknowledge that I think this is a phase that we can go through many times in our lives, depending on how our priorities change and just depending on where life takes us and how we're influenced by the people and environments that surround us. So, especially in our culture where, we're so encouraged, even if it's well intentioned, to figure out our purpose or figure out our path, or have a good answer to the question, what is it that you do, or, what's your career? And I feel like there's a lot of social pressure too to be able to just answer that in a nice, neatly wrapped bow, on top of it, without really um, feeling comfortable with just answering and being like, actually, I don't know, or actually, I'm just exploring right now. So I just want to name that. That being said, I do think that it's possible to get a little bit more savvy and a little bit more intuitive about how we can tell when we're feeling like we're being pulled in multiple directions, how we can start to become a little more discerning in figuring out which direction is actually the one that's going to provide the longest term and most sustainable fulfillment for us at a deep level, versus which direction may just feel really shiny or attractive, but maybe we're not doing it for not even the right reasons, but for the most skillful reasons. So, the way that I've been sort of experimenting in trying to discern this, because to be honest with you guys, as is the case with most of these videos, this is something that I've been going through, right? Like I've been feeling lately um, a strong pull to do one thing and actually continue to do one thing and continue to go down one route. But I've also been feeling called to explore new sides of myself and try to really commit to new areas. But I'm coming up against a lot of resistance because it feels like I'm abandoning this other thing that maybe I'm more used to doing or maybe is more familiar to me. And I'm not sure if I can do both, or they feel like very different from each other. So I feel like I need to make a decision. And I found myself, weighing the pros and cons of both, but it's tough because sometimes you can just go through a period where, one day you really want to do one thing and then the next day you're like totally convinced about the other thing. And it's also can be very related to the experiences you're having. So, in my case right now, I'm trying to decide how much time do I want to spend on um, DJing and playing out and making money that way, which is something that I've been doing for many years. Um, but there's another part of me that also wants to spend more and more time on coaching and actually growing my coaching business and developing that online presence, not just as a DJ, not just as a musical artist, but also as someone that is providing insight and is providing tools for people to help for people to grow in their lives in different ways. And, like with anything, if I really want to do that and maximize my potential in that area, then it's going to take a lot of focus and effort. And so I've found myself being pulled a little bit. And the tool or the way that I'm sort of looking at it to help myself figure out which path is the right path for me right now is twofold. The first part of it is understanding and accepting and allowing myself the grace to realize that it doesn't need to be so binary. There's nothing stopping me or any of you guys from trying out multiple different things. So it doesn't need to be an either or. It can be a this and this. And what I found for myself in really allowing me to try many different things, whether it's my coaching that I've started doing lately, or even things like this podcast or these Scary Sunday videos, or just making music or DJing. Like these are all things that could potentially exist in very many different worlds. But what allows me to hold them all in one cohesive space is really checking in with my intention, which is to always encourage and inspire and help people to feel more safe to be themselves. And this is not even necessarily a conscious thing that I'm doing. It's just something that is so important to me. And it's everything I do is infused with that quality. So that's step one, is just realizing that it doesn't actually need to be so black and white or binary. You can actually do many different things. And it's more important, at least for me, I've found it's allowed me the freedom and the liberty to open up my possibilities for what I want to do by getting really clear about the intention underneath it and making sure that my intention is always consistent and aligned in whatever it is that I'm doing. Step two, which is really the core of this video, of the message today, is really paying attention to the reasons why you may want to go down a certain road. And when I say paying attention, I don't just mean conceptually paying attention to the logical reasons why. Like, so for example, you could say like, oh, I want to be an artist because I want to make music that impacts a lot of people. Like, that's great. But actually paying attention to the feeling that you feel in your body, the somatic emotion that you feel when you actually consider the desire that you have in that field. So if you have a desire to, let's say, be an artist and be really well known for your work and be really well respected in the field, when you actually pull up that desire in your mind, does it feel freeing? Does it feel exciting? Does it feel liberating? And does it feel aligned with your soul? Does it feel aligned with your personality, with your personal set of gifts and beliefs and worldview? Or does it feel stressful? Does it feel constantly like you're going to be comparing yourself to other people? Does it feel like maybe that desire was placed in you by someone else, or by you comparing yourself to someone else and maybe experiencing someone else have something similar and thinking, oh, I really want that? And really starting to get clearer without needing to conceptually figure it all out. All you have to do is pay attention to how you feel in your body when you pull up the desire. So I'll give you guys an example of this. For me right now, there's a few different things that I'm doing, and I'm trying to figure out, and I'm doing a lot of self-reflection right now, trying to figure out where I want to spend more of my time. Like, do I want to spend, is my main thing, quote unquote, still going to be music and producing music as it has been for a long time? Do I want to spend more time DJing? Do I want to spend more time coaching? Do I maybe want to get certified in some modality so that I can help people in some way? There are all these different things going through my head. And as I consider them, one of them is DJing. Like, I'm in a scene and a culture where, I spend a decent amount of time at events, at dance music events, and oftentimes I'm playing them. Sometimes I'm just supporting one of my friends or whatever it is. And I have a lot of friends that are doing really well in that field and really crushing it. Like, for example, this past weekend, I was at Indo Warehouse, which my buddy Armand started, amazing event brand and label. And it was really cool to see how much he's been able to grow that. And I feel really blessed and excited and proud of him and excited to be part of that family. And I want to continue growing in that. And there's a little part of my brain that's like, oh wow, yeah, I should DJ more. Like this is fun, like I'm at the event and I'm like, I should go out and play more, or I should do my own party. And that's where you have to really become very present with yourself and aware of where's that thought coming from. It's one thing if it's coming from a genuine sense of inspiration and excitement and you really want to do it. But oftentimes, it can be coming from a more pernicious place. It can be coming from a sneakier place of comparing yourself to someone else or seeing the success that someone else might be having and being like, oh, I want that. I want that validation, or I want that community, or I want to feel like I'm part of this or I'm part of that. And the moment that you start having that outside in orientation where you're looking everywhere but yourself to figure out what is going to fulfill you, and you're comparing what appears to be fulfilling other people to what's going to fulfill you, um, you can start to notice it feels different in your body. It literally feels different. It starts to feel more contracted. It starts to feel more urgent. It starts to feel um, like you need to rush, or you don't have time, or if you don't do this quickly, then the rest of the world is going to leave you behind, and it's competitive and you have to catch up. And I really want to make a point about this because I almost feel like this is kind of normalized in our society. I think less and less as people, start taking care of their mental health more and just prioritizing what's important to them. But traditionally, at least, how many times have we heard in business or in whatever industry that you might be in that, you know, um, you got to strike while the iron's hot, or like if you have an idea, act on it because somebody else will take your idea or whatever. There's so much scarcity minded thinking that goes on. And partially it's just human nature. But what I'm trying to encourage in this video is to flip that paradigm around. And the moment you start noticing that you might be motivated to do something because you saw someone else doing it, or you're comparing yourself to someone else, or you're feeling some sort of urgency or scarcity, like if I don't do this, then I'm going to miss out on all this validation. That is a clear, or money or whatever it is, that is a clear sign. That feeling of lack, that feeling of urgency, all that is showing you is that if you go down that road, unless you fundamentally shift your mindset towards the reason you're doing it, you will continue to manifest more of that emotion, even if you succeed in whatever it is that you told yourself you needed. Even if you go down that route and you get the thing that you wanted from the outside world, if the emotion that was driving you to get there was an emotion of lack or scarcity or contraction or comparison or envy or jealousy, you will continue to manifest more of that, and it will never be enough for you. And this is why this message is so important to anybody who is an artist or doing anything that for which the success of the thing that you do depends on the attention of others. Because seeking that attention, if that's the main reason you're doing it, or seeking that validation, or seeking whatever it is, the respect, from your peers in the industry, and these are all important things. I'm not saying they're not important, but if the primary reason that you're doing the thing, when you really check in with yourself and you really stop bullshitting yourself and you're honest about it, and you're like, yeah, I like making music, but really the truth is I just, maybe it just my mom didn't love me enough or whatever, and I actually just need a lot of validation. Whatever it is, when you really wake up to that and become honest, whatever amount of success you achieve will not be enough, because the mechanism there is that the reason you're doing it is to get more and more of that thing, and it's a hungry ghost. And this is something I've talked about a lot. Versus, how can you know if something is truly aligned? How can you know if something that you want to do is truly right for you or skillful for you in this moment? A way to discern that is by paying attention to the actual moment to moment experience of doing that thing. Is the actual process of doing the thing fulfilling to you in a way that is independent of whether or not anybody gives you validation or recognition for it? And if that's the case, that is a pretty surefire sign that that's in alignment for you. And regardless of whether or not you even believe the sentence I just said, you're actually just going to enjoy your life more, which from a macro perspective, if we zoom out and we just realize that we're all going to die, and whatever work we create or all the people that we might be searching for validation from are also all going to die, then it really becomes crystal clear that what matters the most is to be fulfilled in this moment. And paradoxically, that will be the thing that allows you to be most of service to others. So I'll wrap this up by just saying, when you're trying to figure out what it is that you want to do or trying to pick one direction or the other, really pay attention to how the actual desire of the thing that you want feels in your body. If it feels like you won't be satisfied until you get that thing, and there's an urgency there, chances are that that desire that you have is not a true uh, um, piece of evidence for how you should be spending your life, but is actually a hungry ghost based on some other unresolved trauma or attachment issue in your past that you are now projecting onto this thing because maybe you saw it work for someone else and you think that that will finally be the thing that makes you feel like you belong or not so alone, or like you're finally worthy of that love of that person that you never got, or whatever it is, whatever issue it is. And this is why, doing work on yourself and being self-aware and really negotiating with your shadows to understand what they're trying to tell you is so crucial to this process. And on the other hand, if when you have the desire of the thing that you want, it creates within you a genuine excitement for the process of getting there, and a genuine excitement, and a genuine trust and knowing within yourself that that is a good use of your time and your talents and your skills and your energies, that can be a way to start to trust in that desire. So TLDR, too long didn't read. TLDL, too long didn't listen. Although if you're here, then you've listened to the whole video. So for those of you who just fast forwarded to this point, the thesis of this video is, when you're trying to figure out between two seemingly opposing or even just diametric or parallel paths that you may want to do, first understand that you can do both. And what can help you do both is to have a shared intention that saturates both of those paths. And two, pay attention to the actual feeling in your body when you pull up the desire for that thing. And if it feels tight and contracted and urgent, there's a good chance that that is not really what you want, but you're projecting some other unresolved emotional issue onto the acquisition of that thing. And if, on the other hand, it feels expansive and free and exciting and creative, and there's a curiosity for the actual process of getting there, that's probably a good sign that that is in alignment for you, and it's something that deserves to be explored more fully, more deeply, and with more diligence. So I hope this video was helpful. I love you guys, and I'll see you soon. Peace.